What's going on, everyone? Fearless Football Forecast here, and we're here with 5 deep sleepers for fantasy football in 2023. All these guys' ADP is higher than 120. So, depending on your league, whether it's a 12-man or a 10-man, it's either after the 10th round or after the 12th round. So, we might as well just jump right into things. I know you're excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped. So for this, we went off of Fantasy Pros full point full PPR. The first guy I want to talk about is John Metchie, the receiver from the Texans. I feel like the main reason that he's pushed down, first off, 200 overall, wide receiver 75. Seems crazy to me, honestly. The reason that he's pushed down, obviously, is that he was battling leukemia. He missed all of last season. To me, I feel like people who are out on him because of that, like obviously I understand, but to me the way I'm viewing it, and I'm just kind of treating it, obviously cancer is much worse. Don't take me out of context here, but I'm viewing it as any other type of ailment or injury. Like just because he was sick last year, they're saying he's clear, so I'm going to trust him. It's not like he's still doing chemo right now or anything like that. They said he's clear of everything, so I feel like that just take it for what it is. But really, when you look at John Metchie, extremely talented, was a second round pick, was extremely productive at Alabama. They have so many great receivers coming out, but he was one of the better wide receivers coming out of the school in forever, or in the past few years, I should say. And I think that he's by far the most talented receiver on the team. I like Nico Collins, but I don't think he's great. I think Nathaniel Dell is too small. The other guys to me just don't seem to shine or stick out in any type of way. And at the end of the day, this is really just a volume play to me. I think Stroud is every quarterback kind of finds that one guy who they're going to rely on. And to me, at the end of the day, I think that for Stroud, it's going to end up being Metchie, and he's going to get soaked with targets, and he's just going to be like a solid flex guy.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, Brandon Cooks is now gone. He's on the Cowboys, so Metchie can be that deep threat guy for Stroud. Always good to have a young receiver coming in with a young quarterback. I don't have any problems with it. And like you said, you're not really risking much if he's ADP is 200 and wide receiver 75. I definitely think he will surpass that. Now, moving on to my guy, number 2, we got Chigoziem Okonkwo, tight end on the Titans. I actually have him on my dynasty roster. I picked him up in the beginning of the season last year just because I was looking at some of his efficiency early on. He led tight ends in yards per route run last year and was actually third in the NFL overall behind Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, which is just crazy, especially on an offense like the Titans that's a little bit more conservative. He averaged 8 yards after the catch, which is great. Now that Austin Hooper's out of the picture, he should be a target soaker on an offense that doesn't pass that much, but might now that they have a new quarterback situation. His athletic receiving grade was at 84.6, which is really high. He's a total freak. And I mean, you're not really risking much with him. His ADP is 132. So if you miss out on that initial group of main tight ends, you can take your shot on his athleticism and hope for the best with him there. He's currently being drafted as the tight end 11. I think that's his floor, really. His potential could definitely be a top 7, possibly top 5 guy. I don't see the top 5 happening this year just because of the low passing volume, but top 7 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Chig is one of those guys who, obviously you have him in Dynasty, and we're in the same league together. We talk about him from time to time, and we're both in on Chig this year. He's one of those guys who he's been steaming up recently. A lot of people are starting to get on board with him, and I don't think anybody is wrong. I mean, when you think of that offense, obviously they're a run-first team. Derrick Henry is going to pound the rock, but it's him and Traylon Burks are really the only two guys of consequence there to me. All the other guys, I mean, like Kyle Phillips, I remember he was a sleeper for me coming out last year, but he's not going to soak up targets by any means. And like you said, if he can keep the efficiency up and just see, an uptick in targets, or even if the efficiency comes down a little bit, because like you said, he was so efficient last year, and if he could just be the number 2 on this team, I think that he'll have a good year. And that is going to bring us to my next guy, the running back the backup running back, some would say, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jalen Warren. He is being drafted 139th overall, running back 49. And this to me, obviously Najee is the number one there. I'm not saying that he's more talented and is gonna take over the backfield, but this kind of reminds me of like 4 or 5 years ago when Austin Eckler first came into the league, and he was just like that guy who was just like always around. And Melvin Gordon was still an amazing run. I think Melvin Gordon was like top 5 one year, and Eckler was top 24 before he really became like a stud in fantasy. I can see something similar happening here, not to the high extremes, but I like this situation. I think that Warren, when he had the ability to show his talents, he was efficient. I think that the offense for the Steelers is going to be better. They've invested in offensive line. Kenny Pickett was a rookie, and he showed flashes, but he obviously was just not ready to be a quality quarterback in the league last year. But I do think with the upgraded offensive line, Kenny Pickett coming into year 2, I think they really are going to take that next step forward. And then, with the offense getting better, I think Jalen Warren's going to have more opportunities. I don't think that, like I said, I think that Najee is still going to get more touches than Jalen Warren, obviously, but I think he'll see an uptick in the amount, like a better split. Let's 65-35. 60-40, somewhere in there. And then obviously if Najee were to ever get hurt, I mean, he's been hurt already, but not counting on it. But if he does get hurt, he's just got that crazy upside to where now he's a starting running back. And I do remember, you got to take it with a grain of salt. There's all this buzz coming out this time of year, but I remember about a month ago, a report came out saying that one of the beat reporters for Pittsburgh was like, there's no way that Matt Canada is going to be able to keep Jalen Warren off the field this year. So I think that even on plays where Najee's on the field, I think Warren might be able to sneak his way on and really be able to make an impact for the Steelers this year.
Yeah, Warren did great last year. Although I slightly disagree about the workload as far as running back handcuffs go. You can't get much better because he had already showed production, and it's not like the Steelers are an organization that's going to rely on something other than the run. Because, like you said, if Najee goes down, he's just going to be ridiculous. And I do think he will be used a lot as a blocker this year, so he'll be out there on the field. Probably an uptick in receptions as well this year. And for my next guy, we got Rondale Moore, wide receiver on the Arizona Cardinals, who already has had stretches as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Right now, his ADP is 124. Definitely worth taking the shot, especially in a PPR format. He was injured last year, but when he was healthy last year, he was actually the wide receiver 17. So he's already shown that he can be a top 20 wide receiver. And his rookie season was very impressive, and that was with Kyler Murray actually being there. And now with Kyler being there toward the second half of the season this year, and with DeAndre Hopkins gone, and the question mark, as always, surrounding Marquise Brown's health, there's just so much opportunity with Rondale Moore. And I feel like his floor, due to the amount of receptions that he gets, is really safe. He averaged 7 targets so far in his career, but that's probably going to go up to about 9 or 10 now that DeAndre Hopkins is gone. Knowing that is the floor, getting a guy who might get double-digit receptions on any given week, combined with the fact that Marquise Brown is a very, very injured wide receiver, injury-prone wide receiver, it's possible that he takes over as the number 1. And I think right now he's slotted as the number 2. So I'm a big fan of Rondale Moore going into this season.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one as well. Rondale Moore is a guy who, coming out of college, he was one of the, he was amazing as a freshman. So, he's a young producer. He's got the talent. And I think that in the beginning of the year, even though it's not going to be Kyler, which I don't think it's going to be Kyler, there are some reports saying he might start towards the beginning of the year. I mean, he'll probably miss like half the year. But even if he does, I think that beginning part of the year, what makes Hollywood good is that he is one of the better deep threat receivers in the league. So when you have that backup quarterback in there, and I don't think they know exactly who they're starting yet, but either way, it's not going to be good. I think that they're just going to be praying to get a check down in And Rondale Moore is one of those guys who can be used in the screen game, can be used underneath. He's a slot guy. There's definitely a real path for Rondale Moore to make a difference this year. And that's going to bring us to the fifth guy that we want to talk about today, my third guy, which is Van Jefferson, the receiver from the Rams. And to me, this is just a case of having a down year and people forgetting kind of what somebody can do. I mean, you think about this past season, he came into the year injured, so that doesn't help. By the time he's back, Stafford was horrible by the time Jefferson got back, and then Stafford was out. So you think about the last time he played healthy with Stafford, that 2021 season, he had 50 catches, 800 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which is solid enough output for somebody who's being drafted 197th right now, and that's wide receiver 74. So again, the way I was looking at these guys is I'm looking for guys going later who can kind of be a flex play, and I think Van Jefferson definitely has that. They're saying Matt Stafford's healthy, so I'm going to take them for their word. And if he is, he's one of the upper quarterbacks in the NFL, and it's going to be a pretty consolidated target share there. Obviously, Kupp is going to get the load of them, but after Kupp, I mean, yeah, Higbee's probably the number 2, but Higbee and Jefferson are going to be right there, back and forth. I don't see anybody else demanding targets as Jefferson and Higbee will. So I think that he'll definitely have those spike weeks, and when you're in a pinch, you'll be able to throw him in a flex spot.
Yeah, Van Jefferson's always been one of those guys that if the team's doing well, he's doing well. You look at their Super Bowl run, Jefferson did great that season before they got OBJ. Last year, there was a lot of hope for Allen Robinson. He's already off the team. So Jefferson can step up as that guy and maybe be the guy that McVay wanted Robinson to be last year. I think overall as a team, the Rams are going to get much better this year. I think their win total at 6.5 is ridiculous. I think they're going to smash that. And like you said, if Stafford's healthy, Van Jefferson's definitely a steal at that point. Even if you're just going to stash him on your bench for a time when one of your starters goes down, he's worth the stash. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more of us talking about fantasy football, make sure to check out this week's episode. We did a My Guys episode. It's up on the channel. Link is in the description below, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace.